Welcome back to the Always Reading Book Club. It is your girl Kiki Reader, and we are diving into a new series this week. Now, it was one of the suggestions from the community board request that I put up asking for new book suggestions to review. And this comes from at Dorica Seals 1882. Thank you so much for your suggestions. This is called the Beauty Series. It's by Georgia Cates, and book one is called Beauty from Pain. We meet Laurel Lynn Prescott, and she is on a plane along with her best friend Addison. They are about 2 hours outside of landing in Sydney, Australia. Now, Addison is asleep. She took a Valium, and so she's been knocked out. Our girl Laura Lynn didn't take it, and she's been kind of tossing and turning, and now she's itching to get off this plane. So the first plane took them from Nashville to LA, and then the second leg took them from LA to Sydney. They get to Sydney, but we find out that is not their destination. So where they're going is actually called Wagga Wagga. And I hope I'm saying that right. It's Wagga twice. And they're supposed to be there for 3 months. Addison's brother lives there. His name's Ben. And this is actually the first time that Laurel Lynn is going to be meeting him, because it's kind of like they're always missing each other when they're supposed to meet. So she met Addison at Vanderbilt, and they've been best friends for the past 4 years. And again, she's never met Ben. So Addison is kind of talking to her, and it sounded like she's trying to hook her up with Ben. And so if she's trying to play hookup, Laurel Lynn is just like, you can get that out of your head. Like, I don't want to get involved in anything, especially not with someone that close, right? Addison is her best friend. This is her brother. If this goes wrong, it's probably going to do something and mess up a possible friendship. So she lets her kind of know. She doesn't flat out say it, but she just kind of lets her know, like, So then when they get to Wagga Wagga, Ben and Zach are there. So Zach is Ben's friend, and Zach is right up Addison's alley. He's got the tattoos. He's like the whole bad boy look. That's her whole vibe. So she's all into him, and he's clearly looking at her like he's all into her. Ben is kind of flirting with Laurel Lynn, but she's tired, and she's not giving him anything. However, they're like, are you guys up for going to the club? And she doesn't want to be a party pooper. So she's just like, let's go. She'll just play Energizer Bunny. And in her head, she's just kind of thinking, I'll just sleep when I'm dead. We then switch to the POV of someone named Jack Mc. Let me make sure I say this right. McLaughlin. So Jack is at the bar tonight. He's looking for a plaything for the next few months that he's going to be in town. So he normally just does like a few weeks with a woman, but he's here to do like look at some investments, and so he's going to be here a lot longer. And this is a smaller town, so far he hasn't been able to find his normal type. So he normally likes a little bit older, like mature, sophisticated type of woman, and they've been blondes the last few. So he's hoping he can maybe get a brunette this time. He's looking around, not seeing too much. Karaoke's going on. He's been laughing at the people doing karaoke. He gets another glass of Shiraz, and then our girl Laurel Lynn gets up there, puts the guitar on. So this appears to be, she seems to be a musician. And before she got up there, her group of friends were saying to her, do it, do it, do it. So she says she's going to sing one of her favorite songs, which is Crash Into Me by Dave Matthews Band. And she does a slower version. And he can tell she's an American, but it's a different type of accent that he hears. And he very much likes it. So she sings, voice sounds like a siren, feels like it's calling to him. He's intrigued. And so he wants to know more. So his waitress comes up and he gives her $100 to find out if she's with one of the guys. Because when he looked over, he saw it was like two girls, two guys. So she's like, okay. So she goes and finds out that's not her boyfriend. That's her friend's brother, X, Y, and Z. So then he gives her another $100 bill and says, find out. What else did he find out? He sent her like two or three more times. So he got information about Ben and Zach, but he wouldn't let her tell him the name of the woman. He didn't want to know her name. I was like, okay. So he knows that Ben and Zach that they're going to the university with when they say uni, and they're there, studying wine, and he knows that Ben has a vineyard in California that his family owns. So he's getting this information from his waitress, and she also finds out that they're going to be going to that vintage dinner coming up this week from the uni students, and that they're going to be there, and that the girls are going to go with him. And so he's like, okay, good, you did good. So she made like $300 fast, just being nosy. So she leaves, and our girl Laura Lynn goes to the restroom. He sees her, and he decides to try and do a meet cute. Okay, so as she's coming out of the restroom, he kind of gets in front of her, and they do that whole thing where you're trying to get around someone, and then she says to him, "You want to dance?" And he says, "Of course." And she had this expression on her face, and it was like I guess either he didn't know it was an expression or he didn't care. He just was trying to get her attention. Well, anyway, when she looks up and she sees him, oh my gosh, like she's a little enthralled. Like, this man is fine. So he definitely now has found who he wants to mess with for the next few months, and he's gonna definitely be going after her. So then we switch back to Laura Lynn. They're getting ready. It's a few days later. They're getting ready for that vintage dinner. And it's a whole showcasing of wines. So you'll have like hors d'oeuvres and then a meal, have some more wine. So she puts on this black dress. She looks great. She's feeling good. However, she is not trying to get Ben's attention. Now, Addison has Zach's attention and is trying to maintain Zach's attention. And so when they come out, Zach, of course, is looking at her like, ooh, ah. And Ben is giving Laura Lynn the same look. And she's like, oh gosh, because she's really not trying to rock with him. So anyway, they go to the event. Addison is stuck with Zach. And then Ben asks her to dance with him. She does, and then someone comes up and tells Ben that they can't find one of his wines. He's like, "That's not possible. They were all together." And they're like, "I don't know, but they're missing. One's missing." So he's like, "I'll be right back." So he leaves, and then our boy Jack pops up. So she's like, oh my gosh. So we find out she's been thinking about him ever since she ran into him. So he asked her, like, what is she drinking? She says, honestly, I don't know. It's red and it's a wine. Like, that's all I know. He sniffs it, sips it, says it's a Cabernet Sauvignon. And she's thinking, oh my gosh, his lips just touch where my lips touch. Like, what a lucky glass. So the way his hair looks, it looks like either someone just ran their hands through it, a woman. If so, she's lucky. Um, if not, who knows? But he is just very beautiful to her. And he asks for a dance. He's like, well, what about my dance? So she, of course, was like, absolutely. As she's talking, he's like, you're a Yank. you're American. He's like, but that's a different type of accent. He likes it, but he's never heard it before. And she says she's from the South. So then he asked her out to dinner the following night. And he's like, I'll have my driver Daniel pick you up. I have like late afternoon meetings, and I'll send my driver to pick you up. And she says yes. See, again, people can feel like, I don't really want it. Really, just they don't want that person. Because when you want them, you want them. Look how fast she was like, yes. So he winds up, I think he left. Yeah, he had to leave. And Ben comes back and he's like, why are you on the dance floor by yourself? And she was like, oh, I was dancing with someone, but he got called away. So then they dance, but again, she's not trying to fuck with him. So she's like, got kind of a headache. She wants to go back home. He's like, oh, I'll come with you. But she's like, no, 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 no. You need to stay here for your event. And she good because she needed to put some separation because he was a little too eager to leave his own event. So when she comes home, she's thankfully, has the place to herself. She goes to bed. She's not asleep, however. She's just in her bed. And she hears him knocking on the door, Ben, later on, but she doesn't answer. She just acts like she's asleep. And then around 3 something, Addison comes home and she was just kind of like, well, why you didn't just stay with Zach? And she's like, well, I didn't want to wear out my welcome. Plus, I don't want my brother to know that I'm fucking with his friend. So she calls Laura Lynn a nickname. I think she calls her Lori. I don't know. I might call her that. I kind of like Laurel Lynn. That's kind of cute because I think it makes me think about Lorelai. And I did like the Gilmore Girls, so it works. She does tell Addison about the guy. She doesn't have his name. Now, we know his name is Jack. She doesn't know that because they didn't exchange names. And Addison is just kind of like, if something happens to you, you go missing, how am I supposed to describe who took you? And she says, just tell him a good looking man in a great suit got me. So we switch back to Jack's POV. He's at the Asheville Hotel. Daniel, his driver, pulls up. He goes to greet her. She gets out. And she was like, you really just wanted me to meet you at a hotel? Are you serious? He was like, I had a business meeting. And they say the restaurant here inside is a great one, the best one. That's why I made reservations for us here. He's like, where I'm staying is a place, it's an estate where I'm staying. And she's like, oh, okay. So they go inside, they sit down, and he notices that her eyes are like a caramel, like a light brown. And she's really not a brunette. She has like a bunch of, looks like honey blonde streaks in her hair. But he's enthralled with her. And he's just, wants to know everything he can about her. So he asked her, you know, how did Ben fare at the vintage dinner tasting? And she says, I think he did pretty good. And then he tells her that he's in the winemaking business. He doesn't tell her that he owns most of the vineyards in South Australia and in New Zealand. He doesn't give that much away. And when she asked for his name, because she was like, that's, what normal people do. They give their names. He says, here's the thing. He's only going to be here for a few months and he would like to see her, but she can't know his real name because of what he does for a living. She, of course, is thinking, this is weird. Clearly, he wants to have sex with her, but then it's just kind of like, but then I can't have your name. But that way, he states, once it's done, you won't be able to contact me because that's the way I like it. Clean breaks. So he gives her this, spiel about what it'll be. And to her, it just sounds like prostitution because he's telling her that, he'll give her the time of her life and all this type of stuff. And it's just kind of like, she don't know if she's really into this. She's thinking like, I don't think I'm the girl for you. She gets up to leave. And he's just kind of like, just think about it. And he winds up getting in the car with her because he wasn't ready to, like, for the date to be over with. So they take her back to her place, and he tells her, just think about it. Meet me tomorrow, same place, 8 o'clock. And then at least I'll know you'll be open to discussing it. Just think about it. And he tells her it really will be the best time of your life. She goes back to the apartment, and no one's there. Ben's out. Addison is at her gone. She's got the place to herself, which is great. All she does is think, and the more she thinks, the more she's going towards the possibility of possibly of doing this. Her thing is, normally she can't have sex without love, but she's done that before. Had sex with the love, didn't pan out too great. So maybe this could be something she could look into. We find out that she comes from a single mother. Her mother was in love with her father, but it was an unrequited love. So she's thinking maybe this is something that could possibly work. So Addison comes home at about 6 in the morning. They have a talk. Addison is kind of telling her, I mean, look, it could work. He's a rich guy. He's telling you he'll make your fantasies come true. He'll make it the best time of your life. Why not? You know, it's not like you're contractually obligated to him. Try it out. See how you like it. So then Ben comes and knocks on the door and says there's a delivery, and it's flowers and a breakfast basket with champagne, expensive champagne for mimosas and stuff like that. And so at first, Addison thought it was for her, but then after reading the card, clearly it was for Laurel Lynn. So he makes a comment, Ben, something like, it doesn't take all that. Some crap like that, he says. And I'm like, he's just a hater because she hasn't been looking back at you, but somebody else has got her attention and somebody's coming at her full force. So he's just a hater. I'm like, whatever with Ben. So he signed it Lachlan, and it just pretty much said, I hope you consider, you know, what we talked about basically. And so she's thinking, well, he gave me his name. So it's kind of a victory, right? So she knew she was going to see him that night to discuss it now. And Ben didn't talk to her for the rest of the day. And that was fine with her, She was clearly fine with that. He's jealous, but she doesn't want him. So, girl, bye. So then she borrows a dress from Addison, heads out, and he was happy to see her because he wasn't so sure that she was coming. So this made him happy. And then they were just kind of discussing things, and he tells her Lachlan isn't his real name. So we know his name is Jack McLaughlin, but he, gave her a piece of his name, which kind of made her feel defeated because, again, she doesn't know that. She just knows he's given her a fake name now. But she decides, I'll play that game too. So she gives him her middle name, which is Paige, and Beckett, which I think is her sperm donor, because that's how she talks about her father. That's his last name. I say, hey, tit for tat, I like it. If you're not going to tell me everything and you need things to be a certain way, I don't need to let you all the way in either. Just saying. They're having conversation. He asked her how old she was, and she said 17. He goes, oh no, you are too young. You're not even old enough to be drinking this wine. He lost it. She starts laughing, and he realizes she was just pulling his chain. So she's like, I'm 22. He's 29, about to be 30. And he asked her if his age was okay. And she said, that's fine, And in his mind, he's kind of wondering if the 22 will be okay for him, just because normally he dates women that are older than him. He doesn't want to tell her that. Um, but these are the thoughts going on in his head. So he gives her a little bit more than what he normally does when she asks where his family is. He did say they lived outside of Sydney. Um, I think he's got a I think he got a younger brother, or I think he's got a brother and two sisters, something like that, I think. And one of his brothers got two kids, and they talked about that just a little bit. But that's more than he normally tells women. But I guess, if you have that feeling of wanting to know someone so bad, that maybe you would be a little bit more apt to give more because you're asking for more. You know what I mean? Unless you're just a completely selfish prick, In his mind, like, the reason he had given her the name Lachlan is because that's a part of his last name. And he had decided, like, he didn't want to hear a different name coming out of her mouth as she orgasmed with him. He wanted to hear some part of his name, which again is something he normally doesn't do. I'm like, already, you kind of should know you pretty much fucked. You're already stepping outside of the boundaries that you set, already, which is funny to me. But here's the thing: if she's asking for too much and you can't give it, you shut it down. And vice versa, neither one of you have to deal with each other, So if it's too much, you can let it go. That is a thought. But for some reason, it feels like that's not an option. But that's normally what happens when you want something real bad. The funny thing that keeps uh, happening is she keeps calling him Jack, but she's doing it as, like, you say, all right, Jack. It's not because she knows that's his name. She's doing it for another reason, and it's throwing him off because it's like that's actually his first name. So they leave from the restaurant. It's a beautiful night. He asks her if she wants to go for a walk. She said, sure, which way? She says, you can never go wrong going right. So we get a little information. She's an only child. She told him this story of her family. So she was raised by her mother. Her mother was a musician. Her father's a really famous musician. And apparently they started messing around. Her mom and her dad, she got pregnant, but the dad was already married and his wife was pregnant at the time. So she's got a brother that's just like a few months older than her, and she's never met him. So he goes, okay, I see why you had said you have some daddy issues. So they're walking and they walk past a place that has a Martin D45 guitar. Apparently it's really expensive, an amazing one. And she told him that's what a musician needs, like that type of guitar. And she says, one day I'm going to be able to afford it. It's like 12 grand. So they leave from there and they have to stop because she's wearing heels. And for a period of time she was all right, but now her feet hurt. So he calls for Daniel, the driver, but he rubs her feet. She tried to stop him at first, but then she let him do it. Daniel came up, took them to the same bar that they went to the first night that she came into town, and they have drinks. She ordered a screaming orgasm, and he ordered the same thing. And he asked her if she would like to come out to his estate. It's called Avalon. And she asked him, do you always wear suits? And he says, I've only been wearing suits because I've been in business meetings. He's like, but for the next 3-4 days, you can see me in something different. I don't have any meetings. So he's invited her to come to the estate, give her a tour of the vineyards. She's agreed. He's excited to have her experience this. And he hopes that he can convince her to say yes to the arrangement. About 4 screaming orgasms in, she's tipsy. They leave from there, and She didn't have to make the decision if he was going to take her home. He took her home. Uh, and then she asked him a question. Does Daniel know about your relationships with these women? And he just kind of was like, he's my driver. He's not my confidant. It's annoying thing. It's annoying thing about that. He gets out, walks her up, and she wants to be kissed by him. And they wind up getting all close. And sure enough, he kisses her. Fireworks. It's intense. And then he tells her, "Look, I can't. How did he say it? I can make you come hard without you being in my bed." And she's like, "Oh my God, she's never been talked to like this." And sure enough, he started rubbing on her kitty cat. And then there's a whole fucking clearing of someone's throat. And it ruins the moment. It's fucking Ben. And I was just like, he is such a cock blocker. So he's looking at Lachlan and he's just kind of like, do I know you from somewhere? You look awfully familiar, you know? And he's like, maybe just remember me from the vintage dinner. He said, no, I don't think that's it. So anyway, after that, it's like he asks, what's her name? Laurel Lynn, like, are you done? I'll walk you up. And she's like, I'll be up, you know. So they didn't want to get back into it and then just be stopped again. So they were just kind of like, until tomorrow. And he makes a comment. What did he say to her? He wants her to stay a few days because he's got the time off. And she hasn't agreed to it yet, but I think she's going to do it. So she goes upstairs. Ben is already in her room, and he's just kind of like, looking at her. And she doesn't feel guilty because she never told him she wanted him. She's never alluded to anything like that with him, So whatever issue he's having, that's his problem. And that pushes her to say, you know what? She's going to go ahead and spend a few days with old boy. She gets a text from Addison saying she's going to be staying all night at Zach's. We switch to Lachlan's POV, and he is at his estate, the Avalon estate, this is a new purchase as well, okay? And he gets a call that there's been a fire at one of his vineyards that's called Chalice. And that was actually one of his dad's favorite vineyards. Because his dad ran them. His dad just recently retired. So now, he handles all of this. So he's like, oh, shoot. Like, the hell, So he's concerned about the workers there because they're kind of like family. He's known them his whole life. And he's like, is anyone hurt? And the guy tells him, nope, no one's hurt. I forget the guy's name. That's over it. So he tells him the police chief is going to come back in the morning since it's dark. He can't really see anything. But he already suspects that it's arson. So now he's going to have to change his plans. And this place is right outside of, or maybe it's a few hours away where he's going. So he's going to drive down there tonight to the Chalice Vineyard. He calls his assistant because he's going to have her give Paige something and he's also going to let her know, the change in plans. I don't know what he's going to give her, but he tells the assistants to get it to her no later than 8 a.m. It's very important. His assistant was like, cool, fine, no problem. I'll get it done. Next morning, our girl Laurel Lynn is awoken by Addison getting in bed. There's a knock on the door. Ben sounds real irritated. He's like, you have another delivery from him. And so she puts on a robe and everything and goes out. And the package, it's a new iPhone so that she'll have a direct line to him. because he's not going to give her his real number. And he tells her that a situation came up. He's going to have to cancel plans for the day, but she'll be able to reach him uh, later today with, and whenever with this phone. So he was like, once he gets everything settled, they can make plans for another day. She's shocked at the disappointment that she feels. She hadn't anticipated on feeling that. Addison was like, she tells Addison, well, he had an emergency, so I'm free. So Ben and Zach have something they want to do, so they're going to go. And so her and Addison are going to have a girls' day shopping. In her head, she's just going to be window shopping because she don't have money like that. So she tells Addison her phone's been acting up. That's why he was just being nice and got her this phone. But she doesn't want to tell her the real reason. She doesn't want to give her all the information about the arrangement. I don't know. If you feel like you can tell her everything, then okay. But you tell people what you're comfortable with, right? So if she doesn't feel too comfortable telling her that, then when she feels comfortable, then she can let her know. At this point, I ain't gonna knock her for not giving too many details. Lachlan gets to Chalice Vineyard. Clyde, that's the name of the guy that overlooks the vineyard. He was like, I haven't seen you so long. It's good to see you, but I just wish it could have been under better circumstances. So they're waiting for the fire inspector to come, and while he's waiting, he winds up calling Paige, and they have a little back and forth, and he tells her there was a fire, X, Y, and Z. They do make plans for the next day, same time, he'll come pick her up. She's like, okay, cool. So then he has the thought, will he ever get used to her playfulness? Because she likes to play with her. She likes to play. But it's actually fun. It's not annoying him, But he is used to like more serious women. But I guess when you're trying to keep it really emotionalist, you don't want to laugh. You don't want to do certain things. But she's just being who she is. And again, if it's too much, he can always pull away. But he's not doing that. So to me, he can suck it up. So then him and Clyde are talking, and he doesn't tell Clyde, but he knows who's doing this shit. It's someone who's been trying to get his attention. Clyde knows that it can't be a competitor because this is the wrong time for someone to do this because it's been raining a lot, which means if it's not dry, the fire can't expand and go like you would want it to if you're really trying to do this. So this is some amateur work. So he knows who it is, but he doesn't tell Clyde that it is. I'm quite sure it's going to be one of his females that he messed with that wasn't able to let go. While she's out shopping with Addison, Addison drops a little bomb on her and was like, don't be mad, but Zach invited me to go home with him for the holiday, for Christmas. She loses it. She's like, are you serious? You're going to leave me here with Ben? And you know how he's been acting? She's like, no, you both are invited. And it's a pity invite, right? And she's like, no, I'd rather just stay by myself. So then Addison's like, I mean, you're not going to go with your dude and his family? She's like, that's not even a possibility. I just met the guy. It hasn't been long enough. Addison took offense to that because she felt like, they met these men on the same day, technically, right? But she was like, well, she tries not to make her feel bad. And she tells Addison, but the difference is you spent a lot of time with Zach. Like every waking moment you're with Zach. Like I've only gone on like a couple dates. Like it's a big difference. So she clearly is one of those homegirls. She's boy crazy. Once she gets a man, just kind of know she gonna neglect you because her whole focus is gonna be on her man. That's just the type of friend you can tell she is. So next day he comes to pick up aka Paige and a Fisker Karma, which I actually love that car. It's so gorgeous. But anyway, he picks her up. He asks her if she wanted the top up or down. She wanted it down. He tells her she can get a hair tie out of the glove department. She says, he can read her mind because she was about to say she doesn't want to use another woman's hair thing. He's like, my sister likes to ride with the top down, so she keeps some extras in there. So she's like, oh, okay. So they get to the vineyard. It's beautiful, and he takes her for a tour of the house, and he's got a baby grand piano. She tells him maybe she'll play something for him. She knows she will because she's itching to do it right now. Then she told him to put. Then hold on. He went and put her bag in the guest room because she was like, put it in the guest room because she's still not trying to commit to the fact that she finna fuck with him, right? And he's like, okay. She knows she's gonna do it, but she's just not trying to give away her power that quickly. So he shows her the workout room, and she tells him, I'm not gonna be here long enough to need that. And then she reveals she doesn't do conventional workouts anyway. She does pole dancing. She's been doing it for the last 4 years. He's floored. Um, she lets him know she's never danced for money or anything like that. It really is just a great workout, and she loves it. It's a beautiful art form. And so he's enthralled by this. He also finds out she used to be a gymnast. And so he's like, oh my gosh. So now he, of course, is thinking he's going to have a pole installed. He's going to do it. He's got to do it. He takes her out on the ATV. They go out. They have a picnic because the housekeeper, Miss Miss Porcelli, I think is how you say her name. She had packed a picnic basket for them. They have some conversation, and they get to talking about like marriage and kids. Him saying he's not ever going to get married, and he, how did he say this? So his father did what is, he took over for his father. He loved his father, but the business always came first. And so his father wasn't around as much. And he doesn't want to do that if he were to have kids, he wouldn't want to do that to them. And it shocked him because he had never said that to anyone, that that's how he felt. And she kind of looked at it as that's pretty selfless of you because you're not just thinking about the fact, oh, I want children. You're looking at the effects of what your actions can have on them if you're not there. So she thought it was a commendable thing. But she was honest. She said she does want to get married. Um, she would like to have a couple kids. She's the only child. She wouldn't want to do that to her own. So she's honest about what she would like. And clearly a disconnect, right? He wants something she doesn't, but she's not trying to push that on him. The conversation came up and she's just being honest about what she wants. She shouldn't have to lie, right? There's no expectation here. I should be able to tell you what I want because this has an expiration date, you know? And she hasn't agreed to anything with him yet either, even though she done brought her ass up here. But she still has not said it's a go. She's very interested in what he's telling her about the winery business. And normally, again, the women he normally deals with, they just kind of, what are you going to get me? Right? Not really taking an interest in him like that. So this is different, but it's actually, he likes it. Um, he winds up taking her inside one of the storage, well, caves kind of, well, is it a cave? It's where they store the wine. So one of the wine storages, he takes her in there, starts kissing her, and they're back to where they were the night before. He starts fingering her clit, and now he wants an answer. So now he stops, and she's like, no, 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 don't stop. He's like, nah. He's like, you have to give me an answer. Tell me you'll be mine, and then I'll finish you off. And so eventually she says, yes, I'm yours. And he rubbed her clit, ate her pussy until she came, drove her mad crazy, and it was just amazing. So this is, again, it's Christmas time. So he's going to be going to his parentals for the holidays. So she's excited to experience Christmas here because there Christmas is like in the summer. It's flip flop there than what we're used to. So she's excited. So they come back to the estate into the house. They have a couple beers, a little bit more conversation. He went she he went back to like they went back to have playing with each other, and then they wind up having a nice heart fuck. She's happy, but she also had said to him that she gets why this arrangement is appealing because there is no expectation, you don't have to think, you could just be yourself. It's a very freeing type of experience. So she gets it. She's like, okay, makes sense to me now. After he goes and throws the condom away, he comes and lays back down. He's tracing her back because that's his favorite part of a woman, that dip in a woman's back. She doesn't have any tattoos. She does have a piercing in her navel, but that doesn't bother him at all. Um, she winds up climbing on him. They start kissing, and she winds up sucking him off, and she swallows, which shocked him because he was trying to tap her to let her know, like, I'm about to come, but she was down for it. So then next morning they wake up. Well, he wakes up first. She's still asleep. He gets some coffee. Then she wakes up, and she winds up making a breakfast. And then his mom calls him, and she hears him say, Paige, like, don't worry about that. All that type of stuff or whatever. And the mom knows he has a woman stayed over with him. Is this a new girlfriend? She wants him to bring this woman tomorrow for Christmas Eve. He's like, no, she's not coming. And then he felt kind of bad, but Paige was like, you have nothing to feel bad about. Like, this is Christmas, you should be with your family. I don't know them. It's fine. So he says he's got a Christmas gift for her. We don't know what it is, but he says she's really going to enjoy it. And I guarantee it's going to be that damn stripper pole. And he, of course, is just thinking about the fact of how different she is from all of the other women that he had, but in a really good way. So she takes a shower. He goes to work out. She was hoping he would come and join her in the shower. She waited a long time, but he never did. She gets ready, and then he comes in all sweaty, and she tells him, you took longer. And he was like, he worked out so long because he couldn't stop thinking about the stuff that they had done the night before. And he's like, he wanted to shower with her. She told him, I tried to wait for you. You never showed up. He's like, I want to take you somewhere. And she's like, okay. So she goes out, waits for him on the couch. And when he comes out, they go out on the ATVs and they check the vine. So he's been drafting a new grape because one of the grapes, it's been deteriorating. So he's trying to, create a new one. And so far it's going good. It's a really interesting process to her. They have a really long conversation about it. So then she asked him what time was he leaving, to be with his folks tomorrow, and he says, I guess that afternoon or whatever. And he's like, so I have to get you back a little earlier. And then he asked her what she was doing, and she says, I'm just staying home. And he's like, wait a minute, why? And she tells him about Addison and stuff, and he's like, well, that's pretty shitty, like, come on. So then she starts talking about other stuff because she didn't want to dwell on that subject. They go inside, they have dinner later on, um, they play, and then while they're fucking, he says, like, no one touches you except for me. Tell me you understand this. And she tells him, yes, she understands. No one will touch her and all this type of stuff. And she knows this is coming from the fact he's already told her because he's very much aware that Ben has a thing for her because he's seen the way Ben looks at her. So he knows. And so the idea that she's going to be home, he doesn't know if Ben's going to go. I would think he would, since that's his friend and his sister that are gonna be there. But that's where that came from. That jealousy, that caveman type thing. She felt some darkness from him when he was saying this stuff, but at this point, she's just like, I'm already in. I might as well just enjoy the ride. Next morning, he wakes up first, and he was about to fall back asleep, waiting for her to wake up. She finally does, and he, of course, says, "Tell me, what's on your mind." And he does admit to her about the whole thing with Ben, and how, because he knows Ben wants her, like, it kind of drives him a little up the wall, right? That she's living there. And she's just kind of like, but that shouldn't be a problem. Like, that's where I live for now while I'm here, you know? And it's not like she wants Ben, right? She doesn't see him like that. So she's not paying attention to him when it comes to that. They wind up fucking twice before he takes her back. And they have this long kiss. Ben pops up again, of course, picks up her bag, and just waiting there, just being a bitch. Doesn't stop Lachlan from kissing her because he's like, fuck it, I'm not, you know, gonna not kiss her because you're here. So eventually, Lachlan goes and gets in the car. She goes upstairs. Lachlan messages her, like, are you missing me yet? She's like, you haven't even left yet. Like, how can I miss you? And then she said, stop texting while you're driving or whatever. And so he goes ahead and he leaves. So he gets to his mom's house. Well, I'm sorry, his parents' house. His mom, of course, is disappointed because she wanted to meet the girlfriend. And he does what he does best, which is sprinkle some truth and wrap it with a blanket of lies. And his birthday is actually next month. So he lies to his mom and he says, well, maybe I can bring her next month. And now the mom's got this false hope. He's so awful. But I guess he didn't know what else to say. He's not going to tell her about the arrangement. So he's got to give her something. So Ben is being annoying to her. He's finding ways to like brush up against her and shit. And she doesn't like it. So he's being a lot more aggressive. So eventually by that evening, she's like, I'm going to the drugstore for some tampons. It's not even that time of the month, but she just wants to get away. So he's like, I'll drive you. And she's like, no, I'll walk. It's a nice night. It helps with the cramps. So she goes to the drugstore and Lachlan calls her and he's like, what are you doing? And she tells him and he's like, why are you at the drugstore? Like, why would you do that? Like, you should be home. It's not, is he doing something to you? Like, he immediately goes to, what has he done? But he feels like it's not safe for her to be outside. It's towards the evening. Like, no, this is not cute. And so he's like, what if someone kidnaps you? X, Y, and Z. So eventually she says, okay, I will go back. And so he asked her if she had changed her mind about going to her friend's dude's place, Zach. And she's like, no, I'm going to be alone. I'll be by myself for Christmas, but it's fine. I'll have my Christmas movies and I'll be in my pajamas. It'll be great. So next day, that's what she's doing. Watching her movies, drinking her eggnog and bourbon. And she gets a call from Lachlan. And he's like, well, she's like, I hadn't anticipated on talking to you today. It's Christmas. He's like saying something else to her and ringing the doorbell. And she's thinking it's someone else, but it's him. And because they're in a building, so when he rings it, she's got to like let him in. And she was not expecting to see him. So then he winds up fucking her right on the couch. Nice and hard. She loves it. It was great. And then after he said fuck, he's like, pack a bag. You coming with me. She's like, okay. So we find out his mom, when he told his mom that What did he say? I forget what he told his mom. He told, I guess maybe that she was by herself, and the mom was like, you should be with her, black X, Y, and Z. And he told her about that. It was a little disappointing to her because it was like he didn't want to come on his own. But I don't think that. I think he wanted, it gave him an excuse to do it, right? If I tell my mom this, then like she'll give me that pass that I can leave the family, right? I can go ahead and go. And then he also just, he fucked her on that couch because it's kind of that way of, Ben, he knows Ben wants her. He knows Ben probably made her feel uncomfortable. That's why she went to that drugstore. And it's kind of like, I'm going to fuck her right here. I think that's where his mind, that territorial shit, is very much why he fucked. Well, he, of course, wanted to fuck her. But that was a part of it, of why he did it on the couch. So while she's in the room, guess who comes through the front door? Freaking Ben. And Ben said something to him like, what are you doing here? And she comes out and she's got her night bag and she's leaving, and Ben looks pissed. So he goes, when should I tell Addison to expect you back? And it's like, Addison is gone with her dude, not concerned about this damn girl. So you need to stop. It's like, chill out, Ben is one of those people, especially with him rubbing up against her and stuff. And like, it's like she's not giving you any type of attention that she likes you or any type of inkling of anything. And you just keep on, He doesn't understand boundaries, or he doesn't respect them. And I feel like that shit's going to be a fucking problem. That just, to me, it's going to be an issue. Because that is just, that's not okay. And then trying to make it out to be like, she can text Addison. She's got Addison's fucking number. No one, like, she can tell Addison. She don't have to tell you shit. He a bitch. That's all I got. So they get back to his place and she sees a Christmas gift and she's thinking, oh my gosh, someone got you a gift. He picks it up so she doesn't see it, brings it inside. She goes and puts her stuff up, and then when she comes back, she reads the card and realizes it's for her. And it is a Martin D45 guitar, her dream guitar. She had this look on her face, and she just couldn't believe it. Then she was like, it's too much. I can't accept this. It's too much. And he's like, this is a first for him because he's never had women not want gifts, right? So usually, at first he started thinking, okay, is it because she wanted diamonds or something? But no, it's just that for her, this was a lot. And she doesn't want him to think that she, was trying to take advantage of him. And he was like, I want you to have it. Play me something. So she does. So then they wind up fucking on the couch. And during that session, he kind of made her say things out loud, like what she wanted him to do. So you want me to kiss your breast, suck your titties. Like, if you want, like, tell me what you want. And then by the end, she was saying, fuck me, Lachlan, now. So, it worked. She was a fast learner. And then while they were fucking, something happened. And she had this look on his face. He did too. Heard something pop. The condom broke. And he was like, you're on the pill, right? And she said, yes, I take my pill every day. Same time. You have nothing to worry about. But it didn't settle him at all. He was stressed. He was just like, we can't use those condoms, anything in that box. They're probably all defective. Like, little spaz out he had. So he's used to having control, right? And it's slipping. He don't like it. And she's trying to convince him that it's okay. And it's like his mind is just somewhere else now. So then she starts playing funny versions of songs. So she plays Gin and Juice and she plays Whatever You Like. That makes him laugh. And that kind of pulled him out of that little stupor he was in. And she sings a song about a guy. I forget I think her ex's name is Blake. And in the song, she was saying how this person felt she was just useless and stupid, and how this new person thinks she's lovely and all these good things. And she starts crying and she covers her face. And he tells her that last guy was stupid. He didn't know who and what you are. You're wonderful. So they go to bed. He wakes up before her, and he's already gone by the time she gets up. He's in the gym running, and she hears Whatever You Like. And she's like, good song choice. So he says that he had just played Gin and Juice. She missed that. So he grabs her. He's like, now you gotta, take a shower with me. But she's like, but we don't have any condoms. He's like, oh, we'll find things to do or whatever. And he's scheduled to leave out of town in 2 days. He also asked her to stay, stay at the vineyard while he's away, and she agreed. So they head back into town so she can get some more clothes, and they can also get some condoms. They go to her place, and she asks him, what did she ask him to come up? No, she told him, give her a few minutes. So she goes up. He doesn't really like the idea that she's up there, and Ben's probably up there, and he winds up getting out of the car and going up. And Addison actually is the one who answers the door, and she's like, oh, so you're the one who's been keeping my girl busy. And so she said something about the California wine business or whatever. And then while Laurel, I don't know, I'm going to call her Paige for right now because that's her name. That's what he told her. So while she goes and gets her clothes, immediately Addison says, don't hurt her. She just got, she got out of something that, really hurt her. So be careful with Laurel Lynn. The last guy did a number on her. She's like, she told me about your arrangement. Don't go making her fall in love with you. Don't do it to her. So he feels a little sting because now he just finds out Paige is not her name. Her name is Laurel Lynn. Thank goodness. I ain't like that Paige shit. But anyway, he likes her name better, right? And feels like that fits her. But again, it makes him feel some type of way that she didn't give him something honest. But you didn't either. You know what I'm saying? Technically, Paige is her middle name. So... But this is a prime example of somebody wanting more from someone than what they're willing to give, right? So they go to the drugstore. He brings out, looks like he done bought damn near all the condoms in the store, okay? And then when they leave, he asks her, can I call you Laurel Lynn? And she's like, damn it, Addison busted me. And she's like, I didn't tell her about the fact that, we're not using our real name, so she didn't know. So she's not mad at Addison. But she also felt like, again, you're asking me to give something that you're not giving, And he says, unfortunately, I can't give that to you, And if I could explain, I would, but unfortunately I can't, and so I won't. So she's like, well, now that you know, you might as well just call me Laurel Lynn, She sounded defeated because it's like she thought she had a little one-up on him, and she doesn't. It's gone. But he keeps his walls up with her. So even though he wants to tell her more, and that freaks him out, because that's not normally how he feels with women, but he still keeps the wall up. So then he asked her where she wanted to go to eat, and she said a 50s diner that Ben had told her about, and that kind of pissed him off. He hates the idea of anything from Ben, but they go. She gets her cheeseburgers and fries and a chocolate shake. He orders the same thing. She eats normal, right? The normal people he rock with want a salad, something light, And so she goes, there's a jukebox. She's very much into music. She knows every song. She tells him how she comes up with lyrics and everything. And there's a couple that she can tell they're breaking up. And so in her head, she could write lyrics about that, you know? And so he says, well, what would you write about us? And she says, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. They ride back. She winds up snapping some pictures of him with her phone. And he was like, don't ever take a picture of me with your personal phone. And she said it wasn't that, it's the booty call phone. He's like, what phone? She says, the booty call phone. That's what it's for. It's the hookup. I took a picture. So that when you call, I can see your beautiful face. And he's like, that's not all we are. But see, here goes the problem. You're trying to, it's like, she calls it what it is, and then you're getting mad at her because she's calling it what it is. You know? Because you want to know so much about her, you want her to let you in. And when she won't do it, you're getting upset. That's trash. You know? So, what did he do? They get back to the house. There's a white van there. She's wondering, like, okay, what the heck is going on? Well, come to find out, it's a damn pole he had installed for her. And so he wanted her to do a dance for him. He had gotten her an outfit, this sexy romper, and some high ass stilettos. And so she did it. She didn't just do the little twirl around, little shimmy on the pole. Like, she can climb and twirl and do all kind of tricks with it, you know? So he winds up fucking her like right after. She thought he didn't have a condom, but he had already just put it on while she was dancing. And in her head, she's just thinking, 3 months, you know? That's all we can have, 3 months. So they're in bed, and he, of course, is such in awe of her dancing. He's never seen an erotic dancer do that before, you know? He wants to take pictures of her, and he's going to be gone for a week on a business, I think. Is it a week or a few days? So he wants some pictures of her, you know, while he's gone. So they have a little photo session. And she's just like, no nudes. And so then he's like, okay, takes the pictures. He's like, these will hold me over. She approves all of the ones that he can keep. And after that, I mean, this is my thing. Normally he wouldn't even be taking no pictures with a woman and stuff like that. But she has a famous dad, and she don't even try and be around him. So, what makes you think, this is why I'm like, why not just tell her who you are? Because she clearly doesn't care. She's not like that, you know? But he's Australia's wealthiest bachelor. But it's like, she clearly don't want you for your money. So, but anyway, next morning she wakes up, and this time it's before him, and it's because her head's pounding and she's going to throw up. She rushes to the bathroom, vomits. He's not going to come in. She's like, no, you can't. He comes in anyway. And we find out that she gets really bad migraines from time to time. And once she vomits, she's normally okay. But he's like, you just going to rest. I'm going to go check on some things in the vineyard, and you just rest. And she's like, no, I'm fine. I feel better. He's like, nope, just rest. And so she falls asleep, wakes up. He gets her bagel and cream cheese. And he's like, we're not going to do too much today. Because he's still worried about what happened that morning with her, you know. That freaked him out.